This story is based on verified judicial facts and public archives. The occult beliefs mentioned remain human interpretations, never proven truths. The victims were real. Their tragedies will never be glorified. Dry air drifts through Cape Town's outskirts, red dust settling on cracked pavement. An abandoned school stands at the edge of the township, shattered windows, faded graffiti, silence breathing through hollow rooms. On a morning in autumn 2013, police find the trace of a boy missing for 3 days. A body left like a wordless offering. A few meters away, a frayed rope, and on the floor, a symbol carved into the concrete, a rough circle drawn in chalk, cut with inverted crosses. Investigators don't grasp the pattern at first. Neighbors mention noises at night, faint laughter, and a thin man carrying a gym bag. That man is Aljar Swartz, 23, unemployed, consumed by occult rituals scavenged from the internet. Swartz never fled. 2 days after the discovery, he returned to the scene. Later accounts say he wanted to finish what he started. Police arrested him before he entered, his face motionless, almost serene. He simply asked, "Did you find the head?" The officers exchanged a frozen glance. They were still searching. The case shook South Africa to its core. In a country accustomed to violence, this crime reached a darker depth. Autopsy reports spoke of a fatal strike, carefully prepared, followed by post-mortem mutilation. Legal secrecy hid most details, yet one fact unsettled everyone. The apparent motive was spiritual. Swartz confessed quickly. He said he had received a message during the night, a call from the devil himself. He repeated one word, Lucifer, like a prayer. He believed a voice had promised him wealth in exchange for a pure act of bloody devotion. Investigators concluded he intended to offer the boy's severed head to a sangoma, a traditional healer, to buy protection. Detectives noticed the contradiction. Swartz followed no organized satanic cult. He mixed Christian prayers, local superstitions, and fragments of demonology copied from online forums. One psychiatrist would later describe a fractured spiritual identity fed by frustration, loneliness, and a fascination with the symbolic power of evil. Yet in the interrogation room, Swartz remained certain. "I didn't kill him. Lucifer wanted it." The courtroom fell silent at that moment. Reverend Cecil Begbie, a respected local pastor, decided to investigate on his own. He was familiar with the phenomenon of muti murders, killings committed in pursuit of mystical power. He wasn't a detective, more of a witness to the madness devouring young men stranded between ancient belief and digital modernity. He met Swartz before the trial began. The young man spoke calmly, reciting Bible verses before returning to his vision of Lucifer. "I saw him in the mirror," he said. "He told me not to hesitate." Begbie recounted the meeting in a public letter. Aljar lived trapped in total confusion between faith, mythology, and fear. He sought to rule his misery through the illusion of a pact. That observation became key at trial. Psychiatrists concluded Swartz displayed no full psychosis, only a self-induced mystical delusion, a belief structure forged to justify his hunger for power. The victims were real. Their suffering will never vanish beneath the exalted words of their killer. The press exploded with headlines, "The Devil's Killer of Cape Town," "The Pact of Blood and Concrete." Panic resurfaced across religious communities. Public debates reignited about the influence of occult games, online satanic symbolism, and digital guides teaching how to draw infernal seals. But in the shadows of the case file, troubling clues remained. Text messages retrieved from Swartz's phone revealed a series of exchanges with a user called Zed, an account deleted after the arrest. The texts hinted at a transaction. The head is worth a lot. The donor pays in cash. No trace of Z was ever found. Investigators hesitated between ritual motive and criminal exploitation. Could Swartz have been manipulated by someone exploiting his madness? During the trial, his composure never broke. He smiled faintly as the prosecution read the facts, referring to black light. When the judge asked why, Swartz answered softly, "The devil occupied me. I couldn't resist." Psychiatrists testified next. To them, Swartz existed within a universe saturated by conflicting religious symbols. His view of reality warped around a pattern common among self-proclaimed devotees of darkness, a quest for domination through inverted faith. For him, Satan symbolized control, or at least the illusion of it. Beneath the madness, there was an aching truth. Swartz wanted to matter. In his distorted lens, only an offering could give him weight. The victims were real. Behind each word uttered by this young man lay a devastated family, a mourning neighborhood, and a body destroyed by spiritual fantasy. Reverend Begbie later described one detail that haunted him: the precision of the symbol found on the school wall. Forensic examination revealed an inner circle drawn using a formula from the grimoire of Pope Honorius, a forbidden medieval text of ritual magic. There was no plausible reason Swartz could have known it unless someone taught him. Someone had shown him that circle. Perhaps Z. The theory was never proven. The file closed without identifying the mysterious contact. Months later, Swartz was sentenced to life imprisonment. No mitigating factors. The judge called him a young soul devoured by a delusion of demonic grandeur. That same night, Reverend Begbie received an anonymous envelope. Inside, a sketch reproducing the circle from the crime scene and 6 handwritten words. The head was only the beginning. Ink analysis found no match with Swartz's writing. Police classified it as a prank. Begbie never slept the same after that. In his cell, Swartz kept writing. Along the edge of his Bible, a final note appeared. "The work continues through me." Reason faltered. The official investigation, though complete, left a shadow behind. Who was truly controlling whom in that Cape Town school that night? The next chapter would uncover what archives later called a living belief, a paper-born demon turned into a human excuse. But the bloodstain it left behind remained real. The courtroom has long been empty, yet the files keep circulating. In the hands of experts, the Swartz case becomes a laboratory of spiritual madness. It all begins with one question: where did the idea of offering a human head come from? African archives mention one recurring word: muti. In certain regions, healers claim that body parts hold vital energy, known as umoya. Criminals have twisted that principle, using it to create charms meant to bring strength or prosperity. Blood, organs, bones, turned into corrupted offerings meant to please unseen forces. Swartz reportedly discovered these tales by chance on an occult forum combining European demonology with South African beliefs. Investigators call it a monstrous hybridization, a fusion of Christian symbols, medieval grimoires, and tribal cosmology. To him, it formed a logical puzzle. A voice inside seemed to dictate rituals, line by line, like inverted divine orders. Psychiatrists acquire his personal notebooks, written during the year preceding the crimes. The pages smell of soot and black ink. He records every dream. A burnt angel showed me a scale. On one side, my loneliness, on the other, the blood of an innocent. The text reveals an obsession with the figure of the light-bearer, Lucifer. For the Church, the name represents the fall of pride, the desire to surpass God. For Swartz, it symbolized a mirror world where the weak could become powerful if they dared to betray the light. Religious scholars remind us that these myths descend from ancient traditions: Enoch, Babylon, the zodiac of fire. Everyone projects their own demon upon them. Swartz wasn't searching for truth. He was searching for belief. The victims were real. Their names remain inside the judicial archives, far from the myths that distort them. Later, forensic analysts examine his phone and find a strange folder. 12 audio files titled Offerings, Whispering Voices, part English, part Afrikaans, part unintelligible. Phonetic specialists identify fragments from a 1969 radio broadcast. A sermon on demonic possession once aired in Cape Town. Swartz had remixed these voices for his own rituals. Some claim to hear incantations derived from the Lesser Key of Solomon, a medieval text describing the art of commanding spirits. In his notes, he quotes, "The first seal opens the path of the offered head." To detectives, that line mirrors the act itself. To psychologists, it exposes a desperate attempt to give meaning to an empty life. Reverend Begbie re-enters the story. Reading through the journals, he notices a recurring phrase, always in capital letters: Black Mirror. In demonological tradition, such a mirror represents the threshold between consciousness and illusion. Some occultists claim to see entities within it. During one prison visit, Begbie asks quietly, "What were you seeking in that mirror?" Swartz smiles. "To see myself different. It showed me what I could become." The Reverend closes the notebook. He understands. The mirror isn't a magic object. It's the fracture of a man trapped inside mystic narcissism. The demon he summoned became the projection of despair. Beliefs remain a human hypothesis. No scientific evidence confirms the existence of entities. Only the material effects of madness endure. A victim, a traumatized community, a legend being born. A BBC Africa investigation explores another lead, a clandestine group around Cape Town practicing what they call popular Satanism. Investigators find visual parallels with Swartz's symbols, yet every member denies contact with him. They admit to performing artistic rituals through music, drawings, and trance, calling it performance, not worship. Nothing indicates involvement in a murder. Doubt lingers. Before his arrest, Swartz mentioned something called the Black Stone Temple. No physical site matches this name in any archive. Perhaps a metaphor, perhaps something more. Begbie offers a chilling interpretation. The temple exists in his mind. He dreamt of a place where God and the devil observe each other, two reflections of the same obsession. In the final weeks before his permanent transfer, Swartz tells a guard, "They haven't cut me off from him. Lucifer sleeps, but he breathes through others." The phrase sparks fear. Certain occult enthusiasts, enthralled by the case, gather online to honor the memory of the pact. Begbie warns authorities, glorifying a murderer under the veil of spirituality only revives the same darkness he once claimed to serve. The victims were real, painfully real. Their families keep repeating one request: remember them, not the symbols carved over their grief. Years later, a team of criminologists revisits the chain of demonic crimes across South Africa. One conclusion stands out: nearly all perpetrators shared three traits: social isolation and moral disorientation, obsession with control through magic or a spiritual pact, use of demonic figures as an internal justification for murder. What Swartz called Lucifer emerges as a substitute language, a psychological code for emptiness. That emptiness, too heavy to bear, was disguised as a god of power. Later studies describe such killers as men disarmed before their own chaos, escaping responsibility by hiding behind spectral myths. On the night of his transfer, Swartz whispers to a journalist, "The head was meant to speak, but someone else kept it." The mystery of Zed rises again. Some believe it was an accomplice, others a hallucination. The investigation stops there. Yet, years later, in a psychiatric ward in Pennsylvania, another name surfaces: Roland Zinner. An exorcism. A strangled reverend, a man convinced he was expelling evil from a priest's body. The shadow of Swartz, his corrupted faith, his whispered pact, drifts across the ocean. The demon changes faces, but the pattern stays the same. Men lost in darkness who think they're saving the world while destroying it.